First World Order Radio. Finally, we are on the air. No doubt. All right.
There's always going to be somebody in the building on First World Order Radio.
We get on into some of that order consciousness tonight.
First World Order Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m.
We got to talk about what is taking place on the planet.
There's always going to be somebody in the building on First World Order Radio. First, we need to let you know we're going to be doing more shows, giving out more information on Wednesdays. Wednesday at 8 o'clock, we are now going to make this the hottest day of the week.
Preceding others in time, order, importance. The most prominent parts, voices, or instruments. Earthly state of human concerns in existence. An indefinite multitude, quantity, or distance. System regulates to bring about specifics in the root based on value and natural characteristics. Current radiates electromagnetistics of sound through the air, same as your thoughts transmits it. Preceding others in time, order, importance. The most prominent parts, voices, or instruments. Earthly state of human concerns in existence. An indefinite multitude, quantity, or distance. System regulates to bring about specifics in the root based on value and natural characteristics. Current radiates electromagnetistics of sound through the air, same as your thoughts transmits it.
You need to understand how magical this, something like this every Wednesday can become. So you need to start getting your calendar right, get your schedule right. You need to know our intention straight out.
All right, so these clues are given throughout the various languages was to piece the puzzle of this ancient mystery school back together again.
And what we plan on doing, both of us, is bringing y'all some surefire dynamite. We're going to take this level up a notch. We're going to have stuff to do here. This is not just going to be about philosophies and theories, shit that works.
All right. We back once again. Dr. Alim El-Bey. And what we're going to discuss tonight is the United States, the European Union, NATO, AFRICOM, and basically the murder of Gaddafi and possibly what that means. Now what we're going to do is get into the info and see how it applies. All right, let's get into some latest information here. Let's see what's coming down from the news. Now, for those that don't know what AFRICOM is, it's said that the AFRICOM is the United States African Command, in which that basically refers to the joint partnership, as they would say, of African governments and the military force of the United States, obviously EU and, of course, NATO. This is what it says. It says, for this part, AFRICOM has declared as a military organization, our responsibility to the American people is to support the United States national security priorities. Africa's security priorities were forced to yield to the so-called United States national security priorities when AFRICOM initiated military attacks against Libya at the same time as the African Union was calling for a dialogue as a means of resolving conflict in that country. This provides the best clue that if an African partner were to attempt to give Africa interest priority over United States objective, the partnership would be short-lived. All right. Let's see what else took place here. Because when you talk about AFRICOM, we see it as nothing more than a recolonization of Africa under colonialism, as we would say, of the Europeans. In other words, furthering the agenda of white supremacy. Now, it behooves me to think that Negroes, Boule, would still be back in this type of agenda, knowing very well that within less than 40 years, there would be no Europeans on the planet, and how their birth rate is less than 1% now. So it's really bizarre to me when it comes to the way that these Negroes think, is that the European will still give them benefits or help them in a large margin or in the long run. You know, when obviously the only thing which that they keep doing is pushing their own agenda. You know, I mean, when we look at who they have overthrown, you know, I mean, we're not just talking about Muammar Mohammed al-Gaddafi. You know, we're talking about Mohammed Mossadegh, Jacob Orzban, you know what I'm saying, and that Mohammed Mossadegh was from Iran. Jacob Orzban, Gamaliel, you know, Jorge Veslico from Ecuador, Patrice Lumumba, you know, from the Congo. You know, these are just some of the names in which that they have overthrown. Salvador Allende from Chile, the Prime Minister Edward Whitlam from Australia, Oscar Romero from El Salvador, you know, Jean Baptiste, Jane Aristide, you know, from Haiti, you know, Ches Guevara in Bolivia. You know, these are just some, you know, which that, you know, they have overthrown. Now, I'm fairly certain that this whole fiasco concerning the death of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, or the President Muammar Gaddafi, is a blatant violation of the Third Geneva Convention, specifically Article 3, to which Libya is a high contracting party, and under which President Gaddafi would have afforded protection. Now, if anyone else does it, it's an atrocity or a war crime. However, if the United States and NATO-backed forces to do it, is justice. Okay? Now, when we look at this, we also have to say, combine this act with the new assassination attempt on the Saudi's ambassador. All right, you can smell what's cooking, basically, as we would say. You know, it is alleged that Muammar Gaddafi was killed by a bullet to the head. I know in some reports I've seen that they claim that they shot him in the side. You know, but one or numerous rebels, or by either a covert assassination during a military action. You know, in other words, the CIA is said to have gone in under the behest of President Obama in order for this to occur and for this to take place. Now, this is something in which that we need to analyze, because Gaddafi is said to have at least 12 lookalikes. Okay? So we can't say for sure if Gaddafi was actually killed, all right, with that many lookalikes. And then the interesting part is that they said that the individual in which that was supposedly Gaddafi, they checked out his hair strands, and they said that the hair was not Gaddafi's. In other words, the hair in his head was not genetically Gaddafi's hair. Now, I don't know how that was possible, because they haven't done no autopsy on the body in order to even verify through a genetic test if it is Gaddafi or not. So, I mean, this is a lot of miscommunication, disinformation, done purposely in one sense, you know, and then in another sense, it's not adding up, you know. The individual that they had on the back of the pickup truck, in which that they say was Gaddafi, in which that was killed, was bewildered and asking why, you know, as if they didn't have a clue on what actually was taking place and why it was occurring or whatever the case was. Now, once again, Gaddafi had at least 12 different lookalikes. The individual that they say that they caught, who claimed to be Gaddafi that they caught, was hiding once again in a hole. Now, this is not unlike what they said about Saddam hiding in a hole. Now, I don't know what it is up with these individuals hiding in holes when they command billions of dollars and armies. And all of a sudden, I mean, what did they do? I mean, did they tell their armies to go on without them? I mean, is that what happened? I mean, did they tell their security force, the closest, the ones who are the closest to them, to go on without them, and then leave me in a hole with a little amount of money? Because Saddam was said to have been found in a hole with about $70,000. All right, we don't know what. They claimed that they found a gold gun on Gaddafi. Now, metaphysically, we can look at this, you know, as the fact that we know Gaddafi was getting ready to back the African Union, in which that they was banking on a communication networking system in which that was stretched from Ghana, from Cameroon to Kenya, into South Africa, into Libya, in which that would give them access, communications in which that Russia and China was working with them on. All right? That was outside of the EU, outside of the United States, and that's who was working with them on the communication side of things. Now, a strange thing is this, is that not only was he backing the AU communication, that's Gaddafi, he also was backing the AMF, which was the African Monetary Fund, in which that they was going to print their own money, all right, for those who's part of the United States of Africa or the AU. And not only that, they was going to be backed by gold. All right? Now, it's going to be backed by gold. And interestingly, being backed by gold, we're looking at possible, because you got to realize that all of the countries are in bankruptcy. All right? All the European countries are in bankruptcy. The United States is in bankruptcy. Matter of fact, the United States, China has more of the fiat notes, FRNs, than is said of the United States. All right? It is said that they owe China up to $70 trillion based on the stimulus plan in which that Obama borrowed from China, all right, which was the $70 billion for that, all right, or the $700 billion for that. And it goes it goes up, you know, every time in which that, being that it's not backed by anything of substance. You got to realize that the fiat note, ever since 1933, of the House Joint Resolution 192, the monies in which that was once currency is no longer currency. It's just a fiat note in which that is no longer backed by gold. And by 1972, 73, Richard Nixon stopped it from being backed by silver. So the money is no longer backed by anything of substance. It is worth no more than the 2 cents in which that is printed. So whether it's a $1 bill, $5, $20, $50, $100 bill, it takes 2 cents in order to print all of them. So there is no substance in it. All right, and it's just as if the saying goes, you can put your 2 cents in. All right, so this is what's really going on. And let's get into something else here. It says right here, that it says what happened. 1 minute Gaddafi was America's best friend in Northern Africa, and in the next minute he was an evil menace. Now, various analysts have suggested that the cause of this radical change are rooted in everything from Libya's oil to Gaddafi's call for the United Africa to Libya's president's proposal for changing Africa's currency. The precise reason, or least significant, than the fact that when it comes to fickle friends, the United States has no peers. And this should give a pause to any African country considering a relationship with AFRICOM. Okay? So, America has its own agenda. President Obama is the head of the United States Corporation, and he sits as the CEO or president of the corporations. So his agenda is to make sure that the corporations benefit. All right? If there is no McDonald's, KFC's, Burger King's, and whatever else in which that they want to put into other countries, then that is doing a disservice to a president who is head of the CEO, who is the CEO or the president of the corporation, in which that all the other corporations are subsidiary corporations up under his authority. This is the reason why he was able to give stimulus monies to corporations such as Goldman Sachs and so forth and so on. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Those are corporations. And he was able to do so without... Now understand that he claims that he's supposed to be a constitutional lawyer. But I'm not seeing any constitution in this because of the fact that he's the head of the corporation. So he don't have to answer to the people, in that regard. Even though the people are not per se part of the Constitution, we're not, unless it's up on Article 6, which speaks about treaties. However, let's continue on. So, because of what has happened, NATO prepares for global war, and Russia and China militaries are on highest alert now. Why? Because they was helping Omar Gaddafi, Libya, with establishing the AU communications system, in which that would have cost them billions of dollars. All right, it would have cost the European Union and the United States billions of dollars for the Africans to have their own communication system or network. All right, so matter of fact, the article goes in and it says at the International Security Conference, Vladimir Putin warns Western leaders that the unprecedented aggression expansion of NATO has brought the world more closer to a third war than it has ever been before. This stern warning came years before NATO's aggression against Libya and its undeclared war in Syria and Pakistan. Following the recent deployment of United States troops to Uganda and the military threats directed against Pakistan, the armed forces of NATO, Russia and China has never been as close to open and all-out conflict as today. A recent and sobering report of the Russian intelligence service, FSB, details the fact that the United States and NATO are currently planning and actively preparing for all-out war on all continents. After the recent meeting between Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Huan Jintao, both Russian and Chinese military forces have been placed on highest alert. Now, we're pretty sure that they have gone back to that based on the current events, even though this was in 2007. But this article was reposted again October the 24th, 2011. So that was a speech in 2007. However, obviously they have gone back to that based on the recent events, because once again, Russia and China was helping the AU, Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, in order to put together a African communication network and system. Right? It says, according to both Chinese and Russian intelligence sources, the United States and NATO plans include, among others, the deliberate implosion of the United States and EU economies, destroying the world finance systems, and the launching of a massive conventional war throughout North America, Asia, Africa, as well as the Middle East. The war plans includes the release of biochemical warfare agents designed to kill millions, if not billions, of people. Listen to what is being said. Now, that's deep, because if you go to Stephen Quayle's website, he's been on the Art Bell Show, and he has shown more than 75 top medical biologists, scientists that have been killed who know information concerning biochemical warfare, bacteria, viruses, parasites, etc., etc. Now, the NATO strategist relies on their ability to sue for peace when the coming conflict is at its highest, to call for the establishment of a new world order under the pretext of preventing the destruction of the planet and the civilization as we know it. One of the preparatory stages was reportedly doctrinal and strategist changes within the training of his soldiers shift from counterinsurgency to more conventional warfare and tanks-on-tank battle. Now, the FSB reports states that the activation of the conflict is to be expected sooner rather than later, since the United States and NATO has pre-deployed 2,000 M1s Abrams battle tanks in Iraq and another 2,000 in Afghanistan. In the area between the Middle East and Asia, tens of thousands of other armored vehicles are deployed. The FSB evaluates the situation as so threatening that it explains it in its reports that the only thing needed for to activate the war plan is to call for the full mobilization of 1.5 million United States reserves. Their activation can come at moment's notice and needs no further authorization by the United States government or by Congress specifically. Now, we know that these wars in which that are popping off are going and bypassing the United States Congress. All right? Executive orders have been put in place when George Bush was in office, in which that Obama is using in order to bypass Congress and go and deploy troops, soldiers into Africa, such as Uganda and different other places, in which that we'll get into in a minute. And not just set up military bases or infrastructures there, military infrastructures, but in the process, kill innocent men, women, and children who are concerned about their land rights. All right, so let's continue on here. It says the war in Iraq was not only based on co-opting its oil. One of the main driving factors behind the decision to topple the Iraqi government was that Iraq has began trading the nation's oil in euro and not United States dollars. All right. The driving factor behind the aggression against Libya was the fact that Libya blocked from the development of the Mediterranean alliances lobbied for the establishment of a pan-African gold-backed currency, and that it has supported. It now ousts Laurent Gbagbo in Ivory Coast in his attempt to get Ivory Coast out of the CFA agreement. The CFA is a French-controlled currency used in 8 African states, and France's control over the CFA is one of the major supports of the French economy. The only country that so far has succeeded to withdraw from the United States dollar is Iran, that ended all trade of oil in the United States dollar in 2009. One of the reasons why Iran had not yet been attacked may be the fact that it has acquired a number of X-55 missiles with nuclear capability from the Ukraine. Now, Russian intelligence analysts has ever generally perceived it extremely unlikely that the Ukraine did not deliver the nuclear warheads together with the missiles. Another reason why Iran has not yet been attacked may be its current support of NATO's narrative of popular revolution in Libya. Why precisely Iran is playing this dangerous diplomatic game is puzzling many analysts. It may be that Iran knows about the United States and NATO's war plans, which perceives the tying down of NATO forces in northern Africa as a short-lived insurance policy that can buy much-needed time to prepare defense against anticipated attack. So now both Russia and China are outraged by NATO's unprecedented abuse of the UNSC Resolution 1973 and NATO's war on Libya. Both the Russians and the Chinese veto at the resolution of Syria may be even within the context of Russia-Chinese awareness of the United States and NATO's plan to initiate a global war. The fact that the highest United States representative to the UN, Susan Rice, left the Security Council meeting in protest after the veto is not a sign of diplomacy being the modus for solving problems of global security either. All right, it goes on that recently the government India agrees to let 20,000 Chinese troops enter the Indian administrative part of Kashmir to counter the unexpected United States and NATO's aggression. Afghanistan has signaling that it will be fighting alongside Pakistan in case Pakistan is attacked by the United States and NATO. So both China, Russia, Pakistan, and Afghanistan discuss pressing security matters at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization on October the 15th. Most likely the United States and NATO preparation of all-out confrontation with Russia and China has been a central point of consideration in meetings behind the scenes when the Russian military was ordered on high alert. All right, so this is what is going on in the world, and you see the nonsense in which that is taking place. Further into AFRICOM and what's going on, and the United States African Command is building their new African mega base in the tiny horn of African country of Djibouti. Now, the first phase is costing $2 billion, according to reports, and eventually another $4 billion will be spent. So $6 billion. This latest expansion of the United States imperial might, this time on African soil, is turning into a fiasco for the Pentagon and the United States Department. To understand why, one must review the recent history in the region. Djibouti is and has been a little more than just a province of Ethiopia. All right? It was a French colony and continues to host a significant French military base. Since 9/11, the United States military has feverishly trying to find a site for a major military presence in a strategic place in Africa. Unfortunately, for the Pentagon, no African country was a suitable site and will allow the United States to set up shop there. So enter Djibouti, with a population of around 500,000 and one of the poorest countries on the planet. Djibouti sits at the entrance to the Red Sea, through which passes much of the world's shipping, including a sizable portion of the oil used in Europe and Asia. The United States made the Djiboutian president an offer he couldn't refuse, and now the concrete is being poured, and the new runways and docks are growing out of the sand and desert of the new African coastline of the Indian Ocean. So that's an example, what's going on, All right. So this is all part of the recolonization and materialize and dealing with their military, their militarization process, in which that another part of AFRICOM, in which that they backed the bloodshed in Central Africa. All right. It says that the Eastern Congo remains awash in bloodshed due to the Western mining companies and their proxy armies. The military regimes of Paul Kagame of Rwanda, Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, and Joseph Kabila or DRC, all hidden behind reams of Western newsprint blaming Congolese victims for their own suffering. Across the continent, a new rebellion in Western Congo has reportedly engaged Belgian paratroopers and UN peacekeepers in alliances with the DRC government. Now, with massive casualties and more than 200,000 civilians forced to flee Western Congo, the United Nations and the Western media has covered up this new rebellion. Meanwhile, AFRICOM under the Obama administration has major plans, constructions, and secret deployment across Central Africa with NATO, DIACORP, and Special Operations Command shipping Ugandans grunts to United States wars in Somalia, Afghanistan, Darfur, and Iraq. With the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, engulfed in bloodshed and terrorism due to the secretive occupations and expansion by the Rwandan regime of Paul Kagame and Congo's President Joseph Kabila has received support from Belgium and the United States African Command, which is AFRICOM, to crush a growing rebellion sparked by resistance forces in far western Congo. Both the United Nations Observers Mission in Congo, MONUC, has downplayed the new rebellion and hidden massive military and civilian casualties. Right? So this is also going on in the Congo, based on AFRICOM and them trying to expand and set up an infrastructure within that territory. All right, now let's get into Gaddafi and the facts behind Gaddafi, in which that can't be denied. We know that there was no electrical bill in Libya. Electricity is free for all citizens. Nothing. I mean, that's nothing in which that can be said here, because you know that the electrical system was set up at the behest of J.P. Morgan, you know, who tried to get Nikola Tesla to do it, and Nikola Tesla turned him down and said, no, energy is free energy. So he went to Albert Einstein to get Albert Einstein to set things up. All right. Then there's no loans, no interest on loans. Banks in Libya are state-owned, and loans given to all citizens at zero interest by law. All right. The United States can't say none of these things so far that I'm reading. Homes considered a human right in Libya. So Gaddafi vowed that his parents would not get a home or a house until everyone in Libya has a home. So Gaddafi's father has died while his wife and mother are still living in a tent. All right. So it is also said that all newlyweds in Libya receive 60,000 dinars, which is equivalent to the United States $50,000 by the government to buy their first apartment, so to help start up the family. All right. Education and medical treatment are free in Libya. Before Gaddafi, only 25% of Libyans are literate. Today's figure is 83. All right. And a large portion of them are college educated. All right. It says, should Libyans want to take up farming career, they will receive farming land and a farming house, equipment, seeds, and livestock to kickstart their farms, all free. If Libyans cannot find the education or medical facility they need in Libya, the government funds them to go abroad for it. Not only free, but they get U.S. $2,300 month. This is how much they get in U.S. money, equivalent to U.S. money, $2,300 monthly. All right, and car allowance. Now in Libya, if a Libyan buys a car, the government subsidizes 50% of the price. The price of petrol or oil in Libya is 14 cents per liter. All right, Libya has no external debt, and its reserves amount to $150 billion, now frozen globally. All right, some say over $200 billion, because it's estimated that the assets of Gaddafi was in over $200 billion, actually, which actually makes him the richest, if not one of the richest men. Definitely one of the richest men in the world. All right. If a Libyan is unable to get employment after graduation, the state would pay the average salary of the profession as if he or she is employed until employment is found. Now that's a hellified benefit. All right. Unemployment before you work. Now when you get fired. All right. A portion of Libyan oil sales is credited directly to the bank account of all Libyan citizens. That means they have shares. That's interesting. A mother who gives birth to a child receives $5,000, equivalent to the United States, $5,000. 40 loaves of bread in Libya cost 15 cents. 25% of Libyans has a university degree. 25%. Gaddafi carried out the world's largest irrigation project, known as the Great Man-Made River Project, to make water readily available throughout the desert country. All right. So, some very great things took place, and of course, they're trying to make him out to be a bad man. Of course, they speak about, the things that he's done in his past. And, of course, he possibly had his own agenda, of course. However, these things are great regardless, And of course, it is said that he don't care about Africans and so forth and so on. But I remember reading an article back in the days when he was telling his Arab people that they are Africans and that they need to marry African brothers and sisters. All right. So these are just some of the things in which that is going on. We have a question. Let's go to the lines. 910, you on the air. 910, you on the air. Peace.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I kind of look at money as an idea, and I look at all the things that people are going through is the problem of living by some organization's idea, and our biggest problem seems to be we're not originating our own ideas in which to live by, and that's why we get caught up in that's why we can get trapped off in the idea of a money system that is only supported by our belief or welcoming the use of it. I see that it's almost as though we need a new book to live by. And I see all the problems that are going on in the world today, and it seems like with these financial problems and with these, the real if governments are making money, how can they be running short on it? And also, I don't see anything that is of real power other than military might. That seems to be the only real capital, military might. And as far as all these things that are going on in the world, people, to me, just seem to need to try to find the Creator by observing the creation. I was reading some books on physics, biology, metaphysics, and chemistry. And I seem as though I can look into laws that will never change. So to me, if the Creator is forever, so is the Creator's laws. And looking at physics, chemistry, biology, I'm looking at laws that can never be changed. So how is that so? How is that not obvious to people that those are the true books of the Creator, the true lessons? Even if you just read physics by itself, you begin to formulate a new mind, a logical mind, a mind that builds itself, reconstructs itself. But all these things that are happening around the world just seem to be just blind stupidity or unimportant to what's really important. That's just was on my mind to shout out. Are you still with me, brother?
Oh yeah, I'm here, brother, and I'm listening. I'm quiet. I'm listening. No, you're absolutely correct. And the thing is that these individuals really believe that they can go beyond the law of karma. And that's what gets me. As if they don't have to worry about it. And that they can just get away with killing innocent men, women, and children. And of course, they want to say a great part of what Obama did was the fact is that he just sent in the CIA, special forces and so forth and so on in order to go and get Gaddafi, along with those rebel rats as they refer to him as, to get Gaddafi, and therefore, not as many people would have actually got killed. So instead of spending, $80 billion, they only spent $2. So this is the nonsense in which that is, going on and being played out. As if, killing someone for the belief system, when in the United States, you're supposed to have the freedom of expression, the freedom in order to assembly, for assembly, a freedom of religion, a freedom of speech.
Right.
These are so-called constitutional laws in which that we have here, allegedly, but yet individuals in which that you claiming that you fight for democracy for are going to give them democracy, they don't have it.
Yeah, and see, one thing that I notice people are not expressing is that when it comes to law, it's our mind that is what we apply to the law. It is our minds. So therefore, nothing is holding us in any type of situation that we're in. There's no laws. There's nothing greater than what we will adhere to. And all these corporate things that presidents do and leaders and all this other stuff, that's all that stuff is corporate, which is something that is manufactured from an idea of the mind.
Right.
And we need to recognize that we are minds, and this stuff that we're going through is stuff that we can step back from or change. But now, there's only two. To me, there's only two options. There's only two major options: grow towards a better relationship with the Creator by studying the creation, acknowledging the things that can never change, what are the laws of physics, the laws of biology, the laws of chemistry. These things and those things are put here. These are the laws. Formulate a mentality from that. Or the other option is might, military might. That's the real capital. Now that other option is an option that it's beyond our immediate grasp. But as a united people of the world, our immediate grasp of power is becoming one with the creation that's been made by the mind of the Creator. Those are two options. How money is spent, what they're doing in other countries, this military, that military, this. None of that is really irrelevant to if your eyes are on the creation, developing what the creation can develop within you, and transforming with that. Because with time, all things change. And definitely without our participation, none of these corporations and ordinances and practices and regulations, none of them have any application without us giving them life. It doesn't matter what Obama does. It doesn't matter how much money they're talking about there. Money is an idea we created. We can step back from that. Presidents, we created. We can step back from that. Corporations, we created them. We can step back from them. But we cannot step back from the principles set up in physics, chemistry, biology, metaphysics. You can't step back from them, and it's indignant to try to step back from them when that's what's created. Those are the fingers and the fingerprints that has created us. So we're not looking at we're not looking at what we are or the greater, we're giving power to the lesser and the temporary.
Mhm.
You know, and I just would, I try to.
Well, let me explain this. When you're talking about the mental and biology, we gotta get into brain. We talking about left hemisphere thinkers who use less than 10% of their brain, in which that they're actually relegated down to the reptilian portion of their brain. Even Obama on The View, he got into talking about the reptilian portion of the brain, and that people, the reason why for different states of consciousness is because the masses are relegated to the reptilian portion of the brain. I think he himself was talking about himself when he was making that scenario of the reptilian portion of the brain. Now, David Icke refers to the reptilian portion of the brain as actually reptilians attaching themselves to the first and second root chakra, in which that individual becomes perfectly possessed. These are the aliens, or the thought forms in which that enter through the 50 portals or gateway through the mind via the brain, and they attach themselves into a person's psyche. All right? So these people are perfectly possessed. These people are possessed. All right? And we're talking about, and so you can't deal with a person who's possessed. All right? Now, I give you an even better example. They're psychopaths and sociopaths. And I give you the book in which that you might want to get. It's by Bobby E. Wright. All right? Dr. Bobby E. Wright. In which that he breaks down in, what's the name of the book? It's Psychiatry. All right? A book based on psychiatry. I can't remember the title right now. But he speaks about specifically that there's only 3 things that you can do with a psychopath. Lobotomize them, all right? Put them in jail or kill them.
Well, you see, there are chemical balances. Like I was saying about, and you made a very good point, because a lot of us are possessed. We're possessed by the chemicals that we eat. We're possessed by the television programs we digest, the radio program, the educational system, the family plot, the business plot. All these different psychoses that are put on people are possessed. They're being willfully allowing themselves to be possessed. But then there's correction. See, there's always correction. There's always correction of chemical imbalance. There's correction of changing of mind, changing of what you putting your eyes on. Like it was written in the Bible one time. It said, or it was brought out from the Bible. It was saying, guard your eyes, guard your ears. You know, which meaning that, we can become possessed. I think that the main media for helping people should be to show that everything is outside, everything is a choice, and nothing is more serious than choice. And nothing's more serious than along with choice is the other part of choice, which is what we're looking at, what we're listening to, what we're partaking of, what we're giving life to. And people say you take one thing from people, if a man is leaning on one thing and you remove it, for a while they're going to need something else to lean on. That's where remaking of the mind comes in, with studying of the things that will not change, which were the things set forth by the principles of the Creator in the creation, which goes back to put down the Bible, put down the Quran, put down the Bhagavad Gita, put down the Kabbalah, put down all these books, and get with the laws of physics, the laws in biology, the laws of math, the laws of chemistry. Study that. That's a mind within itself that can transform the mind.
I agree with you, brother.
Lord.
However, we're referring to individuals who are soulless. They do not have a soul, so there is no reformation for them as far as they're concerned. And this is the reason why they do what they do. Their integrity, you know what I'm saying, they never had it from the beginning. Morality, they never had it from the beginning. I mean, these individuals live life based on the fact of me, myself, and I, and what I can get from others. They are the greatest manipulators, you know. And the thing is that we have to work with those who have souls, so that we can form a soul group in order to do battle and wage war against these individuals who are soulless, in which that really, it won't be a battle in which that will be waged too long, because those who are soulless will not make it into the fifth dimension quantum leap in which that we are going into. You know, the third dimension is based on length, width, and height. The fourth dimension is based on depth, in which that is based on time and space. And the fifth dimension is based on energy. They will not be able to energize themselves to that level. They will not be able to make that quantum leap. So they will get left behind, you know, and they will die off the planet, you know, based on that scenario. And this is the reason why we are battling against the principalities of the darkness today, because these fourth-dimensional beings who inhibit these third-dimensional bodies do not want the fourth-dimensional beings to make that quantum leap into the fifth dimension.
Well, the age of Aquarius is supposed to be bringing that about. But there's some basics that I feel is a basic meal, like the mother's milk from her breast when the child is born. Those basics are the subject type topics that I mentioned. These basics are what, because even those what you mentioned as soulless, I can see that when you use the term soulless, there has been a transformation of them, because you see they came from the gods, which were the original man and original woman, or both as one. So there might be you have the dominant recessive. There might be recessive souls, but there's a place for them here. There's a correction need to be done, and the focus point for that correction is to let go. The willingness to let go of all of this theater. Let go of this theater. All those who are tired of this, let go of this theater. And know that there is a creator, and start that journey. Start looking into the mind of the creator, which are the laws that I spoke of that have formulated all things. That will transform your mind. Even to the soulless ones who came from the original ones, who had, from my understanding and limited studying time that I've had to put into it, they had to live from the dead animals, no vegetation, very limited vegetation, no metal buckets and stuff for libations. They had to drink the animal's milk when they gave a litter. They lived off blood and flesh, and it became their way of life. And they sought assistance from, as some people say, extraterrestrial beings and other dimensions. They chose them. Let us choose you as our God, and help us to bring the greater to the lesser, and I will rise you as a lesser God, as the God. And can you follow? You tracking with me?
Oh, I understand what you're saying, brother. I got you.
So they have chosen the lesser and promise of a greater like we hear people praying out to these gods, these demigods and stuff. They're just lifting up lesser principles, which they call a god. And they're giving life to lesser principles. And so these people seem soulless because they're not living from the higher principles.
Right. They're engaged and indulged within the lower self, which is the devil. So hence they exhibit the attributes and the traits of the devil: lust, greed, jealousy, and envy, and hatred. I mean, this is their life course and mission, as it seems. Now, what do you propose, brother, in order to uplift, as you were saying, the solution to this, besides for just, I know you just finished saying one was to just let go of the drama and the the theatrics of the will, or the theater. Now, how you propose for the average person to do that?
First of all, there's been a concept that Christian people and Buddhists and Hinduists and not so much Islamists, but because Islam is more practical, they're more like they work to they do things to strive for perfection. But in a lot of other religious practices, there's a concept that they use that will be an answer to what you're saying, what you asked me. They say, oh, just accept Jesus and you're transformed overnight. Just say it. Just say, I accept you, Jesus, and you transform, right? Okay.
Right.
Which is a principle and the Buddhists. Their thing is, and Hinduists, their thing is to deny desire so that you can move on to the fifth dimension, passing over the fourth dimension without. See, most.
Right. In other words, they have detachment.
They have detachment. They don't have to wait in that purgatory state, burning out desire before they move on.
Right. Okay.
The thing is, so it's a simple process of like when I've seen a Christian person, for example, that most people in America can relate to. They say, "Oh, I accept Jesus." Okay, now all of a sudden, all their sins are gone. Whoever they was before they're not. The things that they were so tied into doing on a daily basis, they're no longer doing. By what? They made a decision. Okay, Jesus, I'm not going to do it anymore. I accept you as Lord and Savior. You see, we can easily detach ourselves from these worldly events, this worldly theater, this politics and corporations and these armies. We can detach ourselves from them. Not saying that they won't try to destroy, maul down our bodies with the only capital they have, which is military might. That's the only capital, because you can't look at money, gold, silver, because you remember, if you look back, like that old saying goes, this man isn't worth his weight in salt. Salt was used as exchange for labor and for commodities. So now they print a piece of paper and create an idea behind it and say, okay, take this idea instead of salt and use that as a tender for exchange. So what I'm trying to say is that it's just a matter, all people would have to do is say, I'm going to stop dealing in the dream and look at the things that are real, that will never change, which you find in physics, biology, chemistry, and that will grow. Those areas will grow. This thing, if from elementary school on up, children started practicing what is called today martial arts, which is really just a yoga and a dance, and there's a whole lot of spiritual things involved with that. And they started at a young age of studying physics, biology, chemistry, math, metaphysics. By the time, if they had to do that 12 years, by the time they do that 12 years, they have a doctorate degree. They'll be transformed a mind not caught up in dreams, a mind of the principles of the Creator, which they have studied in the creation, which is also themselves.
Okay,
that's the pathway.
All right. I appreciate you coming on, and we definitely going to take that in. All right, we got caller 336. You on the air?
Yo, what's up, brother Alim?
Peace.
It's Ron calling out of Greensboro.
All right, how you
man,
doing?
I just want to ask you something, man, about with the whole Gaddafi thing and all of that. But I'm going to ask something. I'm not trying to get off the subject too much or whatever, but I feel like that has something to do with that just on a much larger scale. Like, I've been checking out how much they've been, you know what I'm saying, dropping down the whole chemtrails and shit. Like, it look like the chemtrails are so thick, it look like clouds out there. And I feel like there's a much larger connection with Libya and what's about to take place. I was trying to see if you can elaborate on that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. What's going on right now? We're in the midst of something which that occurs only once, like every 100 years or so, according to Michio Kaku, a Japanese physicist, quantum physicist, in which that states that the Earth right now is being bombarded by solar flare activity, or what is called coronal mass ejection, CMEs. And we get ready to get bombarded, and have actually been bombarded by super flares and mega flares, in which that the largest one possibly, which could occur by November the 11th, 2011, going into 2012. They're looking, NASA scientists are looking for that to actually take place, in which that can knock out the whole North America grid system. In other words, all of the satellites and electronics, from cell phones to computers to TVs and so forth and so on, transformers being blown up and so forth and so on, all these things to occur. So the only option that they have right now is to drop chemtrails and use the HARP system in order to tap into the ionosphere and disrupt the ultraviolet light in which that get trapped there. There's radiation that get trapped in which they get trapped there, and what they're trying to do is stop the buildup of that radiation because the Earth has, the ozone has been depleted around the Earth, and it's more than 50% over the poles. So that radiation is leaking in which that to melanated people that will help us come back into our powers, our ESP, our higher sensory perception. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairgustance, psychchemistry, telepathy, telekinesis, etc., intuition. So all these things are about to happen, and many of us have developed. Based on that, we have the star seeds, the indigo children, the rainbow children, the crystal children. It is said that we have begun to develop more than just 2 strands of DNA. We have developed 3 strands, eventually developing 12 strands of DNA. And with 12 strands of DNA, we would definitely be outside of the human category. In other words, we would not be Homo sapien or Homo sapien sapien. We would be Homo Christos. In other words, the same as Christ. In other words, we become the Neos, and this is what they are afraid of because this is the X-Men shit happening to them right in front of their eyes. And so in order to try to stop the rise of the black messiahs, what they're doing is trying to put up an artificial shield. Now, if you check out chemtrails and what chemtrails actually is composed, it is aluminum. Aluminum is the main component along with barium and bacterial spores. Now, aluminum, when you hold a piece of aluminum up to the sunlight, it reflects the light. So they're trying to shield and put up an artificial barrier from the energy, from the sun's rays, from the solar activity that is taking place right now, banking on the fact that it will not change us in the process, and it will help shield them long enough in order to continue doing the bullshit that they're doing upon planet Earth, such as the things that is occurring right now. And so, if you notice, always the Albion, white supremacists, who are trying to do battle against the people of color. And so that's what they're afraid of, because they know it's within our prophecies and of the indigenous people, whether it's Africans, Aborigines, or whether it's the the descendants of the Olmecs, who we are, they are always seeing that they have to do battle against the people of color upon the planet Earth, the indigenous people. And this is just part of that component of trying to control something in which that created them once again. They're trying to control their mothers and fathers, in which that eventually we'll get mad enough until we will spank their ass. And that's what is going on.
Yeah, because I've been doing some reading or whatever, like seeing how they talking about how these satellites is falling out the sky or whatever, saying that they done like cut them off or whatever. But I was like, nah, something up with that. I feel like it's been getting fried. So when I pulled it up, so they was talking about how many satellites been getting fried up, falling, just falling to the earth and all. And I say, that's what's up right there. I just trying to connect with what Gaddafi was doing, because I read something about him having like a whole bunch of solar panels or something like that he was trying to do. It was something like that. But yeah, man, I appreciate the info.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
All right.
All right, caller 904. Caller 904, you're on the line. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, greetings. How you doing?
Pete. Hey, how you doing? I was calling to see what is like a natural herb supplement that I can take for a migraine headache.
Willow bark. Aspirin is actually made from willow bark, and willow bark is a natural herb in which that you can take from headaches and migraines.
Willow bark.
It's WILLOW. So willow bark, BARK.
Oh, willow bark. Okay.
Yes, willow bark.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And also you can take valerian root also, VALERIAN, valerian root.
Spell it again.
VALERIAN, valerian root.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Valium is made from, is valerian root, so it kills pain also.
Okay.
All right.
Peace, brother. Thank you.
Peace, Goddess. All right, we're going to 404. Caller 404, you're on the line.
Peace and blessings to the family. This is Brother Dwayne Waters in Jacksonville, Florida. And
all right.
I'd just like to say, bro, just keep up the good work. And the information is so powerful. Our people really need to pay attention to what's going on around them. Again, I appreciate you and just want to give you a shout-out and love and peace and blessing to you all.
All right, peace and blessings, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got some more articles to go through. This is one called Globalist Warlord Obama Moves to Expand African or AFRICOM's Reach. This is from Infowars.com. Of course, you know who that's by. That's Alex Jones. But this is what he says in the article, and it's some very important information. In addition to his wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, those underway in Yemen and Somalia, and coming soon in Iran, the warlord Obama is now dispatching troops to Uganda to do battle with the wacky yet murderous Lord Resistance Army, or LRA. Obama moves forward on the heels of Gaddafi's defeat in Libya. He is following to the letter a well-drafted globalist plan for Africa, one that is potentially enumerated in the LRC Disarmament and Northern Uganda Recovery Bill adopted by the United States Congress in 2009 and signed by Obama in early 2010. It requires the United States government to develop a new multifaceted strategy against the LRA. All right? Obama has said he is sending about 100 United States soldiers to Uganda to have regional forces battle the notorious the Lord Resistance Army, the LRC. The BBC reports on Friday, although combat-equipped troops will be providing information and advice to partner nation forces, Mr. Obama writes in the letter to the United States Congress. Obama didn't bother to consult Congress or abide by the Constitution. He just sent congressional leaders a letter announcing he will again violate the national sovereignty of yet another country. Obama's announcement represents a highly unusual intervention for the United States, reports the Associated Press. Although some American troops are based in Djibouti at the 6 billion AFRICOM mega base, and small groups of soldiers have been deployed to Somalia, the United States traditionally has been reluctant to commit forces to help African nations put down insurgencies. As usual, the exact opposite is in the case. The United States military, the CIA, and their European partners manufacture insurgencies, the preferred destabilization method for the bankers. That's how they like it. And the AP, it says, drudges up the humanitarian crisis of Rwanda and Bosnia as cover for Obama's move. So that's what they're using. They're bringing up the humanitarian crisis of Rwanda and Bosnia so that Obama can go in and make these particular moves on behalf of the corporations. The change in policy could reflect the long-standing concerns of a number of high-ranking Obama advisors left scarred by the United States failure of the 1990s to intervene to stop the genocide of Rwanda and belated actions to finally halt the violence in Bosnia. For a current parallel, the Lord's Resistance Army 24-year campaign of rebellion, rape, murder represents one of the world's worst human rights crises today. And it says, despite the brutality of the LRC, the AP has naturally declined to tell us the whole story. Uganda is a strategist assessment for the United States. Back in 2005, investigative journalist Wayne Madsen reports that the United States has major communications and listening stations in Uganda in the mountain region. It says since then, AFRICOM has set up a operation there. Libya was its first engagement. All right. However, the genocide in Rwanda was not simply bloodlust between Tutsis and Hutus, as dramatically depicted by the media at the time, but was initiated by several causes, most notably the intervention of the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, in Central African economy, and extended debt-serving schemes resulting in famine and armed conflict that allowed the globalists to consolidate power. All right, so this is what he is saying, and a lot of this is definitely true. All right. Now, I think we had another article here. This one is called, this is also from Alex Jones, AFRICOM, China and Congo Resource Wars, says, in which that he wrote this in December the 9th, 2008, in which that he speaks about the fact that President George Bush signed the order creating a new United States military command dedicated to Africa, which is AFRICOM. Events on the mineral-rich continent has erupted, which suggests a major agenda in the incoming Obama presidency will be the son of a black Kenyan to focus United States resources, military and others, on dealing with the Republic of Congo, the oil-rich Gulf of Guinea, and the oil-rich Darfur, which is Sudan, and increasing the Somalian pirate threat, the sea lines in the Red Seas and Indian Ocean. The legitimate question is whether it is merely coincidence that Africa appears just at this time to become a new geopolitical hotspot, or whether it is directly linked to the formal creation of AFRICOM. Well, this was written in 2008, and I think we have our answer now. So this is no longer a question about we know for sure that AFRICOM was specifically designed to recolonize Africa. Now on, obviously for the, as he said, the rich minerals and resources, all right, oil resources and so forth and so on. So we can see that this is actually taking place and is happening. And let's go to the chat room. All right, so let's see what else we're talking about here. We know for sure, matter of fact, this is what we was talking about, that Gaddafi did and does have lookalikes, because if you watched CNN stated and said that when Gaddafi was near his death, Gaddafi said to the rebels, "Who are you people, and what do you want from me?" All right. Now, I was like, huh? If that was the real Gaddafi, why did he say such a thing? And if he didn't know his own enemies, that means that he looked like, or not the real Gaddafi, looked like and is not the real Gaddafi. The real Gaddafi sure knows who are his enemies, So that was something in which that even when you look at the picture in which that they gave us, they flip-flopped the picture, and you can still see this green gun, this water gun up near the shoulder of Gaddafi. But this is a picture in which that comes back from another dead Arab, in which that supposedly was killed during the time of Osama bin Laden. So these are the strange things in which that is going on. So it's like, the case with O.J., the police had to, now if the man was already a criminal, why you have to plant evidence? That's what it comes back to me. It just becomes common sense, because, if it was Gaddafi, and now understand, we said earlier that Gaddafi had at least 12 different lookalikes. We do not know if that was actually Gaddafi. It could have been possibly one of his lookalikes, and the reason why we said that is because they claimed that they did testing on the hair, and the hair was not Gaddafi's. Now, we also got reports that they never did a DNA test on Gaddafi in order to make sure that it was Gaddafi, and now that he is secretly being hauled off to be buried at sea all of a sudden, the same way in which that Osama bin Laden was supposedly buried at sea. Now, what I propose here is that, let's think a little something here. They didn't show us the body for Osama bin Laden because, of course, we know that he actually died back in 2001. So, 10 years ago. All right? And for that anniversary, they gave you Osama bin Laden, all right, who was supposed to have been the mastermind behind the 9/11. So around that same time period, right before they gave you the death of Osama bin Laden. A few months later, they gave you the death of Gaddafi. But this time they have to produce a body because they could not produce a body the last time because he died 10 years beforehand. This time they had to produce a body because people were so skeptical about it. And so this time they gave you a body so that you can look at and mull over and analyze. But when you analyze the pictures, you still see this green cap gun or this little water gun, behind the shoulder of Gaddafi, which was actually on another picture in which that was one of the henchmen of Osama bin Laden. So, this is just a lot of strange things going on. You can take it and leave it as it is. As Elijah Muhammad used to say, take it or leave it alone, brother. Okay? So, it really don't matter to me, So, the thing is that we just have to become thinkers and analyze everything which that is going on because we are dealing with the CIA, and we know that they are very sloppy, and they are sloppy for reasons that, they're going to give you the truth, but they got to show you a lie and see how many Negroes and how many people who are ignorant, because they have dumbed down America to such an extent in order to see how many of y'all are still woke. And, of course, they use Facebook in order to see how many of us are woke, and they do the analyzations from that particular, thing there because, Facebook itself is CIA ran. So, of course, they analyze what is being said on there, to a certain extent. And so, these are the things in which that, you have to really look at, all right? So, another good thing, it says a very good point is that we live in a world full of lies. And don't forget the body hasn't even been taken for a DNA test, which we know that it wasn't, even though they claim that they analyzed the hair and the hair was not his. That's what they claim. And then, of course, Gaddafi's body is with one unit in a car, and we are taking the body to a secret place for security reasons. And that's Mohammed Kafi. an NTC official. All right, this is what they state they was doing. And so, it sounds suspicious without even taking a DNA test to confirm it. The video shows Gaddafi being alive until the few moments in the footage being on the back of a pickup truck. The person looked way too confused to be Gaddafi, but that is something in which that you go back and analyze for yourself. All right, so these are the things in which that is taking place, Some say that it looked like Gaddafi to me, but I can't say. But this is what we can say. Go and check when you see this green gun, and I think it's on. It should be on Facebook right now, and it should be is on definitely on YouTube because this is where it was taken from. But this is what it says here. It says, in fact, let's be honest and logical about this. The publishing of the grisly or grainy photo and video of the alleged death of Gaddafi is not for the benefit of the global public at all. Rather, it is for the benefit of the leaders of any other country who might be thinking about disobeying the dictates of the United States empire and the World Bank. After all, who wants to be dragged out of a hole, unceremoniously shot and plastered all over the global media, even if it isn't really you? That kind of bad press could be hard to shake off. Now, the thing is this: is that we show that they keep showing Arabs running in holes. They said that almost that Saddam Hussein was in a hole when they found him. They said that Muammar Gaddafi was in a hole when they found him, and they also said that they found on Saddam Hussein $70,000 in cash. They also said that they found a golden gun on Gaddafi. All right. At least this is what was said, allegedly. All right. So there's some strange things going on that these individuals who are supposedly dictators, who had control of armies, as we said earlier, and all of a sudden they are alone in a hole. So they told their armies to go on without them or what? This is some of the strangest things that I've ever heard. As far as someone who's supposed to be, having his people to fight, for him, to the death. And all of a sudden, they're left alone in a hole. So this is, once again, questions that we got to analyze. All right, so let's go to another article here. And it says the United States African Command, which is the United States AFRICOM, is a unified combative command of the United States Department of Defense that is responsible for the United States military operation and military relations with 53 African nations, a area of responsibility covering all of Africa except Egypt. All right? Africa Command was established October the 1st, 2007 as a temporary sub-unified command of the United States European Command, but became fully autonomous and operational on October the 1st, 2008, 1 year later, when it officially took command of the United States military operations within the aforementioned area of responsibility. All right, so that's what AFRICOM is, and we got some work to do, y'all. Put it that way. Right. So, we got a few minutes left, and what we're going to do is break this thing down metaphysically. Like, for example, M7 already said in the chat room that buried at sea equals commerce, exactly, because that's what he was interfering with. And how was he going to interfere with it? Because we showed you or told you that they claimed that they found a golden gun of Gaddafi. So the gun is what, remember, he got shot supposedly in the head. So he got shot by the gun. But the fact that it was made from solid gold symbolizes the fact that that's what he was going to use as currency in order to assert the bankruptcy in which that was being played out worldwide and bring America down to his knees and the European Union down to his knees and bring Africa up as far as becoming the controllers of their own economic and commerce or maritime trade. So that's what was going on, and that's some of the metaphysics behind that. All right. We getting ready to end the show. Oh, hold on. I think we got one more question. 904, you have a question? You're on the line. Okay. We'll be getting ready to end the show, y'all. We appreciate y'all for coming on. And, yo, this is what I got to say about all of y'all. I love y'all.
First World Order Radio, finally, we are on the air. No doubt.
All right. There's always going to be somebody in the building on First World Order Radio.
We get on into some of that order consciousness tonight.
First World Order Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m.
We got to talk about what is taking place on the planet.
There's always going to be somebody in the building on First World Order Radio. First, we need to let you know we're going to be doing more shows, giving out more information on Wednesdays. Wednesday at 8 o'clock, we are now going to make this the hottest day of the week.
Preceding others in time, order, importance. The most prominent parts, voices, or instruments. Earthly state of human concerns in existence. An indefinite multitude, quantity, or distance. System regulates to bring about specifics in the root based on value and natural characteristics. Current radiates electromagnetistics of sound through the air, same as your thoughts transmits it. Preceding others in time, order, importance. The most prominent parts, voices, or instruments. Earthly state of human concerns in existence. An indefinite multitude, quantity, or distance. System regulates to bring about specifics in the root based on value and natural characteristics. Current radiates electromagnetistics of sound through the air, same as your thoughts transmits it.
You need to understand how magical this, something like this every Wednesday can become. So you need to start getting your calendar right, get your schedule right. You need to know our intention straight out.
All right, so, these clues are given throughout the various languages was to piece the puzzle of this ancient mystery school back together again.
And what we plan on doing, both of us, is bringing y'all some surefire dynamite. We're going to take this level up a notch. We're going to have stuff to do here. This is not just going to be about philosophies and theories, shit that works.